This is what we're going to call Letitia James's worst nightmare. Donald Trump putting in one Alina Habba for a pretty big job as U.S. District Attorney there in New Jersey today. And let me just say, this woman's going to steal all of Letitia's thunder, so that's not good for Letitia. And then she's going to go after New Jersey in ways that, the entire Democrat establishment, I think, is going to be just going berserk at, including one Letitia James. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the program. I'm Trish Regan. This is Trish Regan Show. Let's go straight right now to Alina Habba being sworn in for a pretty big gig.
Raise your right hand. I do solemnly swear.
I, Alina Habba, do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely,
that I take this obligation freely,
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which I am about to enter.
Discharge the duties of the office upon which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Boom! Okay, so this is a big deal. So she now is the new federal district judge there in New Jersey. New Jersey, of course, being a little bit of a rival to New York. Now, they're not in the same jurisdiction per se, but nonetheless, keep in mind, Letitia does not like Alina very much, nor does Alina like Letitia very much. I think Alina Habba made that very clear. And by the way, she had every right to do so. Remember this one?
Because Miss James wants to stand right here like she did this morning and call my client a liar, call the company fraudulent, and make a name for herself. She said this morning that the numbers don't lie, and they won't lie in this case. Well, Miss James, I have a message for you. The numbers didn't lie when you ran for governor, and that's why you dropped out. And the numbers don't lie when President Trump runs for office in 2024. And those numbers are loud and clear. This country is falling apart.
I'm just laughing at that. So, yeah, like clearly, the numbers didn't lie, right? You ran for governor, it didn't work. I think she's got her eyes on the presidency, except, of course, there's a whole apparatus in place now that's willing to fight back. Let's go back in time for just a moment, right? Letitia James sued Donald Trump with the idea of bankrupting him. Literally, that was her goal, and the judge's goal, because they came up with a fine that was nearly $500 million, absolutely insane. She was threatening. Gosh, this would have been just about a year ago. Right now, amazing how times change. It would have been about a year ago that she was threatening to actually go in and confiscate his properties, including Trump Tower. She was rabid, a dog with a bone. She kept going, and by the way, she campaigned on this, right? This was her entire campaign. This is how she got the position as AG, because she was promising to go after Donald Trump. Well, now, Alina Habba is right next door in a rather powerful position in New Jersey. And while, again, I want to emphasize there's different jurisdictions, et cetera, and it would be extremely unusual, right, to have a district attorney there, a federal attorney in New Jersey being after one AG. We'd leave that to Pam Bondi, of course. I do think this. Pam Bondi now has an ally in New Jersey, an ally who's willing, very willing, to put the policies that the Trump administration wants to see to fruition, put those to test. So in other words, the sanctuary city stuff, that's not going to fly with Alina Habba there. It's not going to fly. Alina has such little use for this woman, and such little use, remember, for the judge as well, who came up with the $500 million fine.
But I was told to sit down today. I was yelled at, and I've had a judge who is unhinged slamming a table. Let me be very clear. I don't tolerate that in my life. I'm not going to tolerate it here. And you know what? You shouldn't either. Because not every American citizen gets a camera and a microphone. And what I'm seeing is such a demise of American judicial system and democracy. Miss James came out this morning and said that she knew Mr. Trump. And she always calls him Mr. Trump because it kills her that he was the president. But the 45th president of this country, one of the best presidents we've had, has built a great company. It's worth a ton more than that statement of financial condition. And she doesn't know how to get out of it because her politics won't allow her. She calls him a bully. She says he's going to bring out racial slurs. He's going to say things today and taunt her. Well, Miss James, you taunted him. Before you came into office, before you saw one record, one statement of financial condition, you taunted him. You said his administration was too male and too pale. Those are her words. She said that she and Michael Cohen were going to be his biggest nightmare. Well, I have some news for you, Miss James. Michael Cohen folded, lied, and crumbled. Your star witness, along with all the DAs and corrupt AGs, need to be paying attention to what happens when you let us take the stand. When you let my client speak the truth, and the judge can tell me to sit down, and he can try and shorten my client's testimony, but it is loud and clear. They've got nothing. They've got nothing but their politics. She's got nothing but her Soros backing, which we discovered recently. And I am sick and tired of seeing it. Pay attention, America.
She's good, right? You got to admit, she's good. So she's now going in, at least on an interim basis there, as the U.S. District Attorney in the state of New Jersey, right, hop, skip, and a jump from New York and Letitia James. Letitia James, who is just attacking the president's policies over and over and over again. She's the one who's putting up on her Twitter feed, oh, we're a sanctuary state. We welcome everyone. Listen, this is not going to fly. It's certainly not going to fly in New Jersey. Alina Habba is going to go after them. And you know who's already after Letitia would be one Pam Bondi.
Not only does this administration's new policy put people at risk, but it is plainly unconstitutional. The president does not get to decide which laws to enforce and for whom. When Congress dedicates funding...
She's complaining there because you see Pam Bondi decided to cut off the funding for New York because New York was not following federal laws. I've said it and I'm going to say it again. If there's one thing that the federal government has jurisdiction over, absolutely, positively, this is totally indisputable, would be our borders, would be who's in our country. That is very clear. And so you have these states like New Jersey that Alina's going to go after, or like New York that one Pam Bondi is already going after, that are just in total direct violation. So Pam Bondi's got an ally in Alina. Alina's going to get a lot of headlines. I guarantee you. Letitia's going to go crazy, right? Because Letitia, she's losing. She is totally on the losing end of this. I will say this. I'm a little annoyed with the Court of Appeals, you guys. They should have had this thing back ages ago. There is no way that this case should have been brought. It was a private case, as the Court of Appeals has told us, between a bank and an individual client. There was no repercussions for the overall economy in all of New York, no matter how many different ways Leticia James and her colleagues tried to slice it. Think about it, okay? You go and you try and take out, say, a second mortgage on your home. And you say, well, I think my home is worth this. And the bank comes out and says, well, we'll see. You know, we're going to do our own due diligence. And so they had to do their own due diligence. They were confident in the valuations that were put forward. And guess what? Everybody got paid. Everybody got paid back. So you don't even have a victim. And yet somehow Donald Trump is still, to this very day, on the hook for nearly $500 million because Letitia James and a crazy judge decided that's the way they wanted it because it was a political vendetta. Well, guess what? Two can play that game, and Donald Trump's totally willing, able to play it right now with a team that is aligned with him. So, Letitia, watch out. We know already Pam Bondi's totally after you. Pam Bondi's after you because you don't follow the rules, the federal rules that require that if we have people that are, say at Rikers Island there in New York, they be deported. So Pam Bondi has already filed charges against Letitia James for that.
We're here today because we have filed charges against the state of New York. We have filed charges against Kathy Hochul. We have filed charges against Letitia James and Mark Schroeder, who is with DMV. This is a new DOJ, and we are taking steps to protect Americans, American citizens, and angel moms, like the mom standing right behind me, who you're going to hear from in a moment. New York has chosen to prioritize illegal aliens over American citizens. It stops today.
And it stops in New Jersey. And it's got to stop everywhere. It's got to stop in Illinois. They have now referred 4 key mayors in cities like Chicago, in cities like Boston, in cities, even New York. Eric Adams is on that list for criminal referral because guess what? They are in total violation of the law. And I'll tell you, you can clean this country up pretty darn fast if you got people that are willing to cooperate, that aren't suffering from a severe case of TDS, as too many are, including one Letitia James. Here's Pam Bondi arresting bad guys. Yeah, MS-13 gang members. They say they got the leader of this gang in Virginia.
What I want to do, I want to have other governors, other law enforcement officers come here to Virginia and see this amazing task force, Governor, that is led by our agencies and Governor Youngkin. And what's happening here in Virginia? Arrests have increased 468% from the same period last year. We didn't need new laws, as President Trump always said. We needed a new president. And we have great leadership standing behind him to fight to keep America safe and make America safe again. We will keep your community safe, and we will continue to do that.
Isn't that amazing? I mean, what, 435% increase in arrests? And then, of course, the deportations just keep going and going and going and going, despite all the judges that are like, wait, no, you can't do that. But I'll tell you, again, it comes back to you have to have cooperation amongst the states. If you want to clean these places up, you got to have governors like Glenn Youngkin there in Virginia willing to play ball. This is him just yesterday after these raids. Amazing, amazing job by law enforcement there. And he's like, hey, you know what? We wanted to do this all along, but we were never empowered. Imagine, you can't arrest the criminals?
First and foremost, this task force was designed in the White House with this team around the table. What do we need to do in order to go after the gangs, the cartels, and, of course, the drugs in a community like Northern Virginia, like Fairfax County, that has seen county leadership not pursue the necessary steps in order to fight this crime? And this task force was architected in a very quick period of time and stood up immediately. And in fact, when Director Patel was confirmed, within a day, he authorized this facility and these capabilities. General Bondi immediately came to lead it, and we found ourselves with truly one-of-a-kind resources going to work. And I just want to emphasize the pace and the focus. And so, no, these were not lists that were available in the previous administration because they wouldn't do that. And the minute...
Think about that. Why? If you know you have criminals, why would you not release the list? Why would you not empower law enforcement to go after them? I'm really troubled by that. I'm really significantly troubled by that. You know, I get, okay, they want open borders, blah, 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 open border society, George Soros and his big theories on that. But the criminals? I mean, I'm sorry, guys, you just completely lost everyone. I mean, I'm not a believer in the open borders, period, right? You know me, I want people to come in legally. Donald Trump has said all along, we can have a red carpet for people who want to come in legally. Let's know who's coming here. Let's keep track of them. But why are we having criminals come in? And then why are we defending the criminals? By the way, the judge that's wanted to stop the plane but didn't, Judge Boasberg, his daughter works for an NGO, interestingly enough, that works to defend all these MS-13 gang members that are here in the country illegally. I mean, it's just sort of weird. I'm sorry, you're losing me. Anyway, Tom Homan is very happy these days. I believe he said he feels like a kid in a candy shop because he can finally do his job and all he wants to do is keep America safe. This is the latest out of America's Borders Are. Listen.
I think it's going to open up a lot of eyes. I think illegal aliens, most vulnerable, are not going to spend their life savings to hand it to a criminal cartel to come to the United States, knowing we ended catch and release. You're not going to be released in the United States. You're going to be deported immediately. And as the Secretary said, we got a lot of tools in the toolbox. El Salvador prison's one. We got Gitmo. We got other countries. So for those countries who push back on taking their criminal nationals back, we'll send them to another country. We got a lot of tools in this toolbox. Again, President Trump's a game changer. We got illegal immigration on board down 96% because of the policies of the Trump administration. And we got, like I say, record number of criminals. We still got a lot more to do in the interior, but we got the right team put together. This is the greatest team I've seen in my over 40 years serving as a special agent, a border patrol agent. I've never seen a team this serious about making this country safe. We got a great president. He's got a great team. So I wake up every day like a kid in the candy shop, getting ready to go to work. And I know we're making a difference every day.
Isn't that amazing? So we're arresting violent gang members from El Salvador, sending them back to El Salvador. And for some reason, people have a real problem with this, so much so that we got to keep going back to the 1798 enemies list, which Donald Trump rightly articulated. You know, he may get into trouble with El Salvador because we're not technically at war with El Salvador, but could you be at war with these gangs? I think that's where the legal questioning is going to go. In terms of Venezuela, well, he's already announced effectively sanctions on Venezuela by saying anybody who does business with Venezuela is going to be hit with a 25% tariff, which is, again, as I said, effectively like a sanction, although without as much paperwork. Here he is saying, look, this is a time of war. We have to invoke the 1798 Aliens Enemy Act.
Criticism that the Alien Enemies Act has only been invoked 3 other times. They were all during times of war. Do you feel that you're using it appropriately right now?
Well, this is a time of war because Biden allowed millions of people, many of them criminals, many of them at the highest level. They emptied jails out. Other nations emptied their jails into the United States. That's an invasion. And these are criminals, many, many criminals. Murderers, drug dealers at the highest level, drug lords, people from mental institutions. That's an invasion. They invaded our country. So this isn't, in that sense, this is war.
Right. Okay, it's going to go through the courts, but this is a team that's saying, hey, you know what? We have the right to do this. And they're citing right now security concerns. So as the judges say, hey, wait, you can't do that. We want this information. We want that information. They're like, hang on. First of all, what gives you the right, the jurisdiction to do that? When it comes to actual security concerns, we're in the right here. We have the ability to move forward. And they're taking the ball and they're running it all the way down to the goal. And Tom said it the other day, you know what? To hell with the judge. Basically, to hell with, like, who is this one judge who's going to get out in the way of us keeping the country safe when we are the ones charged with doing that? We are the federal government. Heck, guys, remember when Governor Abbott down in Texas was like, I want the wall. I want the wall to stay. And they kept tearing it down, the Biden administration. He's like, no, but we want that wall. We built it. Let's keep it. And he didn't have the right to keep that wall. I mean, it was at the point where we're like, hey, maybe Texas really needs to secede because this is nuts. This is not fair. This is not right. And yet the way the Constitution works, the federal government has that jurisdiction. And so ultimately, I think what you're going to see is they're going to have all the rights they want in terms of rounding people up that are a threat to the country and then putting them in the Guantanamo, for example, or sending them back to their own country since they were here illegally to begin with. Here's Tom Homan saying, yeah, he doesn't give 2 bits about any of these judges wanting to say any of these things. He's there to do a job.
So the question a lot of people have is, how long has this person been in the country? And could the Biden administration have taken him down?
Of course they could have. I mean, the Biden administration, they tied ISIS hands. They didn't have our government approach, right? The FBI is doing things they shouldn't have done. But now they got Kash Patel there. You got Pam Bondi, great AG, who's making the FBI do what they're born to do, doing what they're supposed to do, chasing the bad guys, making this country safer. That's why this whole government approach makes so much sense. When we go on these operations, if we find an illegal alien with dope, DEA can prosecute him. We find him with a gun. ATF can prosecute him. FBI finds a domestic terrorism or terrorism investigation. They can prosecute him. So we can prosecute these people before we deport them. Look, it's a game changer. Under President Trump's leadership, we've arrested more criminal foreign fugitives in this country, more criminal illegal aliens in this country in 2 months than Joe Biden did in an entire year. So game on.
Game on. Okay? Think about that. Border crossings falling 96%. And it didn't take any money. Remember how they go, we need this bill and we need this bill. We need another $1 trillion for this one because we're going to have to process all these people. No. You just actually enforce the rules and the laws that you actually already have on the books, guys. It's not that hard. I know you always want to spend more money, and I think they were just trying to find more ways to get everyone in. But they're going to keep moving forward every single day. They've made that very clear, and we've continued to see planes taken off with people that are known criminals that are here illegally, and that's how it's going down. So Alina Habba now is going to be able to contribute to that effort there in New Jersey, because New Jersey is all about, we're sanctuary, and sanctuary cities, sanctuary state, etc. So she's going to be after those guys there. Pam Bondi's continuing to move on New York and other places. And I'll tell you, things have got to change. AOC is scared out of her mind, going on to NPR. Oh, yeah, NPR. That's like the deep, deep state media, okay? You got MSNBC and then you got NPR, where they talk super softly into their microphones and they try and whisper sweet nothings that the liberal establishment wants you to believe. Yeah, NPR is in a whole lot of trouble. They're going to get defunded, of course, as they should, by the way. That's a whole racket. We're going to do a big expose on that on Monday. I talked a little bit with my friend Chris Salcedo on Newsmax about that today because it is a racket. And NPR's like, only 1% of your tax money is going to us. And I know a lot of people on Fox are like, oh my God, it's 1%. And that's a lot. Well, let me tell you, it's a lot more than 1%. This is like money laundering, news style. That's a little tease for you for Monday. We got a big thing coming up on that because NPR, whoa, what a joke. Anyway, they got NPR doing an interview with AOC, and she's like, oh my gosh, I'm afraid Tom Homan's going to arrest me. Well, it wouldn't be Tom, it would be Pam Bondi, and she's looking for clarification. I think they're kind of keeping their powder dry there. Pam's got a lot on her plate. I will say that because you know what? There's more coming. There's so much more coming. Donald Trump very much wanted a lot of the information. We got some of it with the Mueller report, but he wanted more names, dates, places, etc. associated with that Russia hoax back in 2016. Remember when they wiretapped Carter Page and they put all these honeypots out to try and get information, not just on Trump's campaign, by the way, but we've learned here through this show, an interview I did with George Papadopoulos, who was one of the victims of this, that they were also trying to go after Ben Carson's campaign. This was a whole Comey-rigged thing. And so Donald Trump wants more information, so much so that just a couple of years ago, he basically sued all of these people, like Hillary Clinton and all of her friends, for $75 million. And he sued them because he wanted effectively this information. A judge threw it out, surprise, surprise, but I want to go back in time. A couple of years ago, Kash Patel was on another podcast and he said, there's something very important about this lawsuit. And the good news is, well, he's president now. But hear what Kash has to say. Listen.
I want to ask your thoughts on the news yesterday. We didn't touch on this at all. Donald Trump filed a lawsuit yesterday.
Yeah, and it's probably, hopefully he's not listening, it's his best one yet. No.
Oh, is that right?
I think so. It's the most conclusive, comprehensive lawsuit. It's basically if you took the Russiagate investigation, which Jevin and I ran, and looked at it from a criminal perspective, what Donald Trump has done is said, okay, how do I encompass everyone from Comey, Clinton, Clapper, Brennan, and all the whole DNC crew on down? How do I get them civilly in federal court? And the way you do it is you utilize this thing called RICO, Racketeering Enforcement and Corrupt Organizations. We used to prosecute gangs under RICO statutes criminally.
Cartels, you're right.
But what most people don't realize is RICO also has a civil function. So what he did was he took the RICO statute, which is permissible under by law, and said these guys orchestrated the largest criminal enterprise in U.S. history, but I'm suing them on my civil side of the house for, I don't know, $75 million. The whole point, right, is to get to discovery.
Yes. Well,
Boom.
Also, civil can lead.
Okay, you heard that, right? The whole point is to get to discovery because he wanted to know exactly how this all went down. Well, now, ladies and gentlemen, guess what? He's going to find out. It's all coming out. I can't wait to read this one. I mean, I actually think this is going to be better just because it's more recent, it's more relevant. Obviously, I was reporting on it in real time. It's going to be more exciting than the JFK stuff because we're going to see how the sausage is made. I've told you about the Smith-Mundt Act of 1948 and how Obama modernized it in 2012, and then it was enacted in 2013 because they used to have an effort to put all this propaganda all over the world so they could control all these regimes and promote democracy. And then they decided, because everybody had access to social media, they needed to turn that on us. It was never allowed to be turned on us. That was propaganda that we manufactured for overseas, and all of a sudden they say, hey, we need to make sure that we preserve democracy here in the good old US of A. And so they allowed that money and that funding to then promote propaganda to ensure democracy right here in the US. Who did that? Obama, okay? Obama. People at the time were like, well, this might be bad because it's propaganda. But that didn't stop them. So now we're going to learn exactly what they did with all that propaganda. Again, this week, getting this news, and I think this is just going to be fascinating. I can't wait to see it all. It's all getting declassified. This is like their worst nightmare, okay? This is what they fear. This is what keeps them up at night. This is why Comey was so desperate to make sure Donald Trump didn't win.
Next, sir, we have a presidential memorandum for your attention. This memorandum requires the immediate declassification of all FBI files relating to the Crossfire Hurricane investigation. This was obviously one of the instances of the weaponization of law enforcement powers of prosecution against you and others. We believe that it's long past time for the American people to have a full and complete...
Whoopsie daisy. I think we almost went to an ad mid-sentence. Let's go back. I want to hear this because Donald Trump is pretty excited here. This is the information that he wants. He wants to make sure that he knows everything he can about Russia. And I'm telling you, this is so important. Don't forget, you had that spy guy, Christopher Steele, who was paid by the Hillary Clinton campaign vis-a-vis Perkins Coie, vis-a-vis, I mean, it's like multi-layered here, okay, because they're trying to disguise it all, Fusion GPS. And so they come out with this wild report, and then they use that report to get the FISA warrant. In the meantime, one of the junior FBI lawyers, Kevin Kleinsman, is out there forging documents so that he can get the FISA warrant. By the way, 6 degrees of separation, Judge Boasberg, the one that was trying to stop the plane midair going to El Salvador. Yeah, he's the one that actually let Kevin Kleinsmith off. He was supposed to do a year in prison, but nope, he just got off on some community service time. So I think this is important. I'm really excited to see all of this, you guys.
Next, sir, we have a presidential memorandum for you with there's a classified annex, but other than that, this will put everything in the public eye.
Boom! Okay? Like, it's happening. This is what he wanted. As you heard from Cash earlier, the lawsuit was really about getting that discovery. Well, now he's president, so he's going to get it all. And we're going to get it all. And we're going to know exactly what they did and how they did it. And then Pam Bondi can go after them then. She's going to be busy, which is why I'm sure she doesn't appreciate one little Jasmine Crockett taking a little bit of her time and attention. Jasmine Crockett, who's been going after Elon Musk, well, now she's facing new charges for assault. Jasmine Crockett, the junior representative from Texas, a Democrat who has kind of, what shall we say, a potty mouth, and she's like the girl from the ghetto that's not really from the ghetto. She pretends she is, but somehow went to fancy $38,000 schools her whole life, whatever. Anyway, Jasmine Crockett decided she didn't like this reporter that was asking about some of her commentary, her reckless, disgusting commentary on Tesla and Elon Musk. So, what'd she do? She just grabbed his camera. Take a look.
Hello, Congresswoman.
Horse manure. Well, that sounds like fun.
Wait, Congresswoman Crockett. Congresswoman Crockett, you were recently on a Tesla takedown call calling for violence on the 29th. Would you like to clarify your comments?
As you can see.
Congresswoman, will you condone violence at the Tesla?
That's courtesy of Laura Loomer, by the way. That was actually her reporter that was getting sort of attacked by one Jasmine Crockett. Unbelievable. So the reporter actually was a little shell-shocked. He's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this woman's just like attacking me and grabbing my camera. So he immediately went outside. Now, I'm just going to preface this by saying it's a little bit hard to understand. And why is it hard to understand? Because it seemingly is very, very windy there as he's doing this report. But it's worth hearing. It's definitely worth hearing. Try and listen to it because he's just sort of shocked. He's shocked that a lawmaker would like lunge at him. I'm shocked too.
I just left the Office of Congressional Ethics. I just filed an ethics complaint against the esteemed Rep. Jasmine Crockett for assaulting me, and I guess you could say, more importantly, violating my First Amendment rights, because that's what she did. You know, I really wasn't going to file an ethics complaint against Texas's esteemed Congresswoman until it was brought to my attention this morning that Rep. Crockett is running around the halls of Congress right behind me like she's some victim. You won't believe this, but maybe you will, because this town is crazy. Rep. Crockett is running around with extra United States Capitol Police security, paid for by you, the taxpayers. So let's get this straight. Rep. Crockett threatens a United States senator, threatens Elon Musk, threatens Tesla owners, attacks a journalist, and yet somehow she's the victim. No more. That is why I filed an ethics complaint.
Okay, so that's why he's filing the ethics complaint. I know it gets hard to hear, but his point is, what the heck? She's out there calling for violence on all these different people, making fun of Governor Abbott, who's in a wheelchair. We'll get to that. And somehow she's the victim here. Like, that doesn't really make sense. And she's such a victim that she actually needs your taxpayer dollars to pay for a security guard. So apparently she doesn't lose her temper and lunge at anyone else. Watch.
Hey, Congresswoman, do you regret your earlier comments you made about Governor Greg Abbott?
Do you see the look on that guy? He's like, don't go near her. Don't go near her. I'm being paid by your taxpayer dollars to make sure this woman doesn't lunge at anyone. So now you can't ask her any questions, you see. You know, the First Amendment doesn't matter to these people. They've told us that over and over and over again, and they've made that very, very, very clear. But nonetheless, she's in trouble. So she's getting sued by Laura Loomer. This is great. Laura writes on Twitter, it's on video. It's not alleged. It's an assault. A police report has been filed against Representative Jasmine Crockett after she assaulted my Loomer Unleashed DC correspondent, the Charles Downs. Do not put your hands on my staff. We are pressing charges against her. So the left, predictably, is trying to have some fun with this and make fun of Laura Loomer and her reporter, saying that this is weird and this is bizarre and like, how dare they make any kind of claim against one Jasmine Crockett, the future of the Democratic Party. Yeah, just ask the Democrats. She's climbing in the polls. AOC, watch her back. She's gaining on you. Wow. So the Daily Beast is all out in support of one Jasmine Crockett. You know, I got to say, if the tables were turned, if Marjorie Taylor Greene had turned and lashed out and grabbed the camera of a Daily Beast reporter, do you think that that would be what the Daily Beast was reporting? No, the Daily Beast would go all after MTG all day long. But if Jasmine Crockett decides to lunge at a conservative reporter, it's just a joke. I'm sorry, I'm over the double standard, okay? Totally over it. There's going to be a certain kind of decorum, shall we say, in Washington, D.C. I know this woman with her caterpillar eyelashes is not quite capable of it. Do you know how much effort it takes us to have to bleep out all her swears? I kid you not. I send it over to Sal, who's on my team. I'm like, Sal, can you bleep this out? Can you bleep this one out? Sometimes they sneak in there. I don't know what the rules are, you know, so I try and be careful and just make sure everything's kept clean, but I can't always do it with one Jasmine Crockett because she's got one heck of a potty mouth. And she's clearly a gross person because she's lunging at them. So go, Laura. Absolutely. Defend your reporter. File those assault charges. That's exactly what they're doing, and it needs to happen. This woman needs to get called out. Nobody's calling her out. She's like the darling of the left, and it's a little bit scary. It's a little bit scary. More on Jasmine Crockett in just a second. But as I was telling you, I want to go to this one right here, 76 Portfolios. This is my company that I started with a very dear friend. And take a look there, because I know the markets are down today, but we're smart. And we know what we're doing. We've got 3 model portfolios for you. The resilience portfolio, which is growth portfolio, inflation protection. We've got an income builder. And I'm just saying, guys, you know what? Everybody's freaking out. The market's tanking. I was asked about this today, and I'm like, you know what? When the market tanks, that's actually when I go in. In all seriousness, I bought more today because I actually am a big believer in the economic policies he's putting forward. I'm a believer in what he's doing for manufacturing. You saw the news today, for example, on car loans and how he wants to allow for the deduction of interest if you get a car loan and it's an American-made car. This is all about preserving and protecting and growing American manufacturing. Plus, he's got all these deals coming in with companies all over the world that are suddenly going to do business here. So I actually think the market's misguided in terms of its total freak out that we saw today. I tend to be pretty right on these things. I think the proof is in the pudding. I want you to go check it out. You can go to 76portfolios.com. That's where the real value is if you get the portfolios with 10 to 15 stocks in each one. Or you can just sign up if you want to just get your feet wet. No harm, no foul. It's just $1 a month. Use code $dollar at 76research.com for the first 2 months. You can cancel anytime. More on Jasmine Crockett, guys, because this lady is one nut job. Did you see, of course, why she's basically causing so much commotion and attention from the DOJ? I mean, people are starting to get a little worried here. There's fear that she could actually cause some perhaps violent episodes because of something that she recently said. And of course, after she said it, we saw some scares in Texas at some Tesla facilities. I want to share this with you because Pam Bondi is out with a brand new response. And like, she's not messing around this time. If anybody is caught doing any of this, I'll let Pam say it. But first, this is a U.S. congressperson. Like, what is going on in Texas? Leslie, if you're here, you got to let me know. I mean, Leslie's from Texas. I'm looking at the crowd. What is happening, for goodness sakes? You got a congresswoman like this.
Thank you so much, Annie. And I won't hold y'all because I know how much people love to listen to politicians. So I'll make sure that I keep it short. But I am truly here for very selfish reasons. Starting with, on March 29th, it's my birthday. And all I want to see happen on my birthday is for Elon to be taken down. Yes.
Wow. Okay, so we're like on the eve of that. She's no spring chicken, by the way. I thought she was like 27 or something. She's so not. I think she's going to be like 44. So in other words, she should know better. She should totally know better. I think she does know better, but she's deliberately doing this, and this is really alarming. And I'm telling you, if anything happens, it's on her. Pam Bondi made it really clear. Listen.
Here we've got to get people in office. What's happening with this Las Vegas Tesla criminal who he was arrested and now federal charges have been filed against him? This was something that was needed given everything we're seeing happening to those dealerships and those cars across the country.
That was remarkable police work, working with the state police, our FBI. They have been going nonstop on this case. This guy is in custody. Laura, he is facing 5-year minimum mandatory to 20 years in prison. And this was great police work. This guy thought he got away with it. So these people better look out. They better cut it out because we are coming after you. And at my direction, there will be no negotiating on these people.
No plea deals.
We are seeking 20 years in prison. They are setting off bombs, the huge fires. Look what you're seeing. Huge, massive fires in residential neighborhoods.
Someone's going to get killed.
Charging stations. Someone is going to get killed. A citizen is going to get killed. And these people, we are not doing any plea negotiations on them. Well, so they better cut it out.
We have.
And think about who started it, right? Let's get back to one Jasmine Crockett. Pam has a warning for her.
Now you have this Congresswoman Crockett who is calling for attacks on Elon Musk on her birthday. Let's take him out on my birthday, she says. And yet she turns and says, oh, I'm not calling for violence. Well, she is an elected public official. And so she needs to tread very carefully because nothing will happen to Elon Musk. And we're going to fight to protect all of the Tesla owners throughout this country. And it's just basic safety. Once again, domestic terrorism is going to come to a stop in our country.
Yeah. So it needs to, clearly. And when you have a congressperson like that setting the tone in that way, that is not a healthy position for the country to be in. Here she is going on the liberal rag MSNBC to say, oh, I've never promoted violence. I don't know where they get that. I don't know what Pam's talking about, you idiot.
Just in case the slow people listening decide to clip this up later, I just want to say that I have never promoted violence whatsoever, yet I've also never made excuse for those violent actors such as the ones on January 6th. So Pam Bondi, if you have an issue with terrorism, maybe you should talk to your boss about locking back up those guys that he let out that participated in January 6th.
When Pam Bondi, though, says, tread carefully, what does that even mean?
Yeah. All it means is that she's attempting to get me to say, oh, I'm going to be scared and I'm just not going to say anything, because they are willing to literally break the law. I mean, that's what we've seen them do. They are ignoring court orders. They are ignoring what our own laws are. When we look at things such as impoundment, things like that, this entire administration is rogue. And this isn't about partisanship. I keep trying to tell people that we are living in the time of good versus evil, right versus wrong.
You keep telling yourself that, Jasmine. But I think Laura and Pam are right. In other words, if anything happens, that's on you. That's on you, girl, because you're the one out there calling for this. And even though you say you haven't said anything about violence, I'm looking at what you said moments after that, and I'm thinking between, Elon Musk and Ted Cruz, you actually sound pretty darn violent to me.
I think that you punch. I think you punch. I think you're okay with you okay with punching. I think, and I love Colin, and I think towards the end he started to punch a little harder. But it's Ted Cruz. I mean, this dude has to be knocked over the head, hard, right? There is no niceties with him, at all. You go clean off on him, right?
Right. Wow. Okay. You got yourself a little problem there in Congress. I mean, we thought AOC was bad, but this one's really a nut job. And I haven't even gotten to Hot Wheels. We haven't talked about that this week. My gosh, what she said about Governor Abbott, who, by the way, if you didn't know, is in a wheelchair. The guy's in a wheelchair. And she's at some speech there in Texas and decides to have this line of attack. She's, by the way, been offered an opportunity to clear the air. I'll get to what she said on that. But first, you have to understand what she said and how offensive it was.
Because we in these hot-ass Texas streets, honey.
Whoops.
Y'all know we got Governor Hot Wheels down there. Come on now. And the only thing hot about him is that he is a hot-ass mess, honey. So yes.
I'm sorry, who's the hot mess? Really? I mean, because I'm at this point thinking it's you that are the hot mess, Jasmine. But hey, I could be wrong because the Democrat Party seems to love you. Maybe it's the Democrat Party that's a hot mess. Here, Jasmine was offered an opportunity by a network I used to work for, Fox Business News, to try to clear the air a little bit. This woman's all class. All right, take a listen.
Why won't you apologize?
I put out a statement.
They didn't have an apology.
So read my statement.
I did read it. It didn't have an apology.
Okay, well, I'm done.
You don't feel bad about making fun of someone?
I'm done.
Isn't the left supposed to be all about, we're inclusive, we make everybody feel good, we don't insult somebody because they're in a wheelchair? Oh, no, actually, that would be the right. Because you see, we are actually nice people. I don't think they are on the left at this point. I think they're really a bunch of screwballs who are perfectly fine having criminals invade, perfectly fine having men naturally born men win all the trophies and awards and scholarships for women's sports. I mean, they do not strike me at this point in time as very nice people. No. But it's going to come back to haunt them. Because when this is your lineup, ladies and gentlemen, and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is leading your pack, you are in trouble. Like serious, serious, serious trouble. We got some breaking news on Columbia University I want to get to in a moment. But first, you know I take my balance in nature every single day. Balance in nature. And I'm getting better every day, right? Coughing a little bit less thanks to that horrible cold. For some reason, whenever I get a cold, it like lingers and lingers and lingers for like 6 to 8 weeks. I always say it's a good thing I didn't actually become an opera singer professionally because I would have been out of work. At least I can still talk to you here on the Trish Regan Show. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't. Anyway, Balance in Nature is one of our wonderful sponsors, and we thank them for their sponsorship because they help bring this show free to you guys every day. We're totally independent. I don't have any NGOs or USAID or the big guys, right, in the back pocket. So we do appreciate everything they do to make this show possible for all of us. Balanceinnature.com. I take my fruits and veggies. They're in the gummy form. You can get them as well. They actually have a lot of different products there, but I take the fruits and veggies, and that way I know I can get my vitamin D levels up even when it's the middle of winter. I'll be honest, like even in the summer, I don't get a ton of sun. I've never been like somebody who bakes in the sun. And so consequently, I'm always struggling with that. So vitamin D is important. Vitamin C too, but vitamin D is certainly for me. We all have our unique challenges, and these guys have really helped me out. So balanceinnature.com, I encourage you to go there. Use my code TRISH because you get 35% off plus free shipping and a money back guarantee. So this Columbia story is just breaking, and this to me is amazing. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe. As I said, we're independent. It's really important. We've been growing this station, this channel. I got to clean up my lingo, right? We're not a station, we're a channel here. And it's thanks to you guys. It's all organic. There's no marketing. But I think it's in part because there is this transparency. There is this truth. I think you like that. I know I do. This is the best job I've ever had. All seriousness. I've worked at every big media outlet and I've never felt so free and so happy. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it. So this story, just breaking right now, Columbia University has said bye-bye to Katrina Armstrong. She was the interim president there at Columbia University. You know, Columbia's had a lot of problems because they got that guy, Mohammed Khalil, that has been sort of a troublesome student, to put it nicely, kind of igniting all these rallies. And it got so bad that Jewish students fell under such tremendous pressure. They actually had to cancel classes at Columbia University last spring, and they had to cancel the graduation. So they got themselves a little bit of a problem. Well, the Trump administration's coming in. They're like, this is not going to happen anymore. In fact, I saw a letter to one of the universities that another congressman, our friend Burgess Owens, sent out. He went after a number of schools, and he's like, hey, you know what? This is not being tolerated. I want to make sure you're doing X, Y, and Z. He CC'd Pam Bondi. It's a problem. It's a problem. Kids don't feel safe anymore. And these liberal institutions where you're supposed to be able to have freedom of speech, there is no freedom of speech because these people have taken over, and you got to kind of wonder, how did they get in the country to begin with? How'd they get a visa to come here? It's good that Katrina's stepping down. I think she probably took on more than she could handle. Donald Trump said, we're getting rid of your $400 million in federal funding. So she said, oh, wait a second. No, we'll clean up our act. And then the faculty and the students all went nuts on her, so they got to find someone else. Will that person be able to stand up to Trump? Well, I'll just tell you this. You're going to lose your $400 million if you do. Money talks, right? Anyway, Rubio is like, I can get rid of this guy. I mean, well, of course I can get rid of them. In fact, there's this 1952 law that enables me to get rid of any of them. And I'm on a spree. I've gotten rid of 300 student visas right now. And that's a minimum, at least 300 student visas, he's saying. And he's got many, many, many more on the way. So I wonder if Katrina Armstrong's departure there at Columbia University has anything to do with the pressure that's mounting, not just on the school to actually clean up its act, not just in terms of what she's feeling in terms of pressure from the faculty and the students who don't like that she's sort of bowing down to Trump because she needs the $400 million, but also the reality that a whole bunch of those kids on campus, they're all going to get kicked out. Here's Rubio.
We revoked her visa. It's an F1 visa, I believe. We revoked it, and here's why. And I'll say it again. I said it everywhere. Let me be abundantly clear, okay? If you go apply for a visa right now, anywhere in the world, let me just send this message out. If you apply for a visa to enter the United States and be a student, and you tell us that the reason why you're coming to the United States is not just because you want to write op-eds, but because you want to participate in movements that are involved in doing things like vandalizing universities, harassing students, taking over buildings, creating a ruckus, we're not going to give you a visa. If you lie to us and get a visa and then enter the United States and with that visa participate in that sort of activity, we're going to take away your visa. And once you've lost your visa, you're no longer legally in the United States, and we have a right, like every country in the world has a right, to remove you from our country. So it's just that simple. I think it's crazy. I think it's stupid for any country in the world to welcome people into their country that are going to go to your universities as visitors. They're visitors. And say, I'm going to your universities to start a riot. I'm going to your universities to take over a library and harass people. I don't care what movement you're involved in. Why would any country in the world allow people to come and disrupt? Now, we gave you a visa to come and study and get a degree, not to become a social activist that tears up our university campuses. And if we've given you a visa and then you decide to do that, we're going to take it away. I encourage every country to do that, by the way, because I think it's crazy to invite students into your country that are coming onto your campus and destabilizing it. We're just not going to have it. So we'll revoke your visa, and once your visa is revoked, you're illegally in the country and you have to leave. Every country in the world has a right to decide who comes in as a visitor and who doesn't. If you invite me into your home because you say, I want to come to your house for dinner, and I go to your house and I start putting mud on your couch and spray painting your kitchen, I bet you're going to kick me out. Well, we're going to do the same thing if you come into the United States as a visitor and create a ruckus for us. We don't want it. We don't want it in our country. Go back and do it in your country. But you're not going to do it in our country.
You kind of wonder, like, what's that about? Are they deliberately sending them here? I mean, is this some kind of operation where they're trying to basically generate this hostility? He's going back and he's like, look, the law's on my side. I can do this because they're non-citizens. I can deport them because there is this 1952 Immigration Act that basically says if your political opinion is at odds, it came out of the Cold War, of course, with what our foreign policy is, then the State Department can deport you. So bye-bye. Bye-bye, Mohammed Kahil. I mean, you got the ACLU taking that one on, but I don't care. It can go all the way to the Supreme Court. You get the 1952 Immigration Act, and I don't understand. I don't understand why we want people here who are just going to cause mayhem. You're not even a citizen. Why do you get the same exact protections? What Marco is saying is absolute common sense. And for whatever reason, nobody has any common sense on the left anymore. They used to. I was watching a soundbite. It's going to be in my shorts feed over the weekend of President Obama back when he was in office talking about the importance of efficiency in government. Oh, I'm like, really? Oh, the importance of actually streamlining government and getting rid of programs that we don't need anymore. He actually talked about buildings that were just sitting there and they were totally empty. So they wanted to divest themselves of those things. And I'm like, gosh, you sound a lot like what we're trying to do today, but you're suing? You're suing the Trump administration because they're trying to get rid of wasteful spending? I'm sorry, guys. You know what? You've lost America on that. And that is why the right's going to keep winning. And winning and winning and winning. This is why every single poll shows Americans think the country's going in the right direction because they don't want the wasteful spending and they don't want students who are coming here and they're causing all kinds of problems on campus. And they certainly don't want people that were born as men competing in women's sports. I mean, that's like a no-brainer. I mean, you look at the numbers on that, it's like 90 some odd %. And yet the left is clinging to this. And I'm like, for your own self-preservation, like, are you guys that dumb? I think they are. I really do. I mean, I don't think there's a rocket scientist in any of them, certainly not one Jasmine Crockett or AOC. Hey, we've got a big summit coming up. I'm so happy to be part of this. My friends over at JCN, Job Creators Network. I'm going to be in Savannah, Georgia for our Freedom Fighters Summit. I want to invite you to join me there. It's Savannah, May 1st and 2nd. It would be great if you could attend. I'm putting up the link here to JCN2025summit.com. It's Job Creators. annual Freedom Fighters Summit. We're going to have a couple of days there where we're discussing the biggest issues facing this nation right now. We've got all kinds of conservative luminaries there. You're going to know them all. We've got, I keep joking because they gave me the copy to read, and it says media stars like Trish Regan. So at least I'm first, right? Anyway, we've got Kellyanne Conway. Governor Youngkin's going to be there. That's great. Governor Kemp. We've got Grover Norquist. I love Grover. You know, he and I have always seen eye to eye. No new taxes, less taxes. Bill Bennett, Mike Gallagher, Sarah Carter, Kellyanne Conway, I think I said her, my friend Steve Moore, lots of great stuff. A number of people from the president's cabinet, the cabinet members are going to be joining, as well as many members of Congress. So this is exciting. We're going to be discussing here in this one place in Savannah, Georgia, the biggest issues on our horizon right now as a nation. And it's not just any event. It only happens once a year. And so if you go to anything, I want you to go to this. I've been able to secure a special offer for friends of the Trish Regan show, but I only have 150 tickets. That's it. Okay, guys? So go to jcn2025summit.com. Use code Salem. You'll get 50% off your second because, you know, maybe you want to bring a friend or a spouse or anything like that. Get the tickets before they sell out. Use that code because you get the 50% off. Oh, I should also say Rob Schneider, you know, the comedian, is going to be there. Also, Lee Greenwood. I like want to get up and do a duet with Lee. I really, you know, wouldn't that be fun? Anyway, it's going to be a blast. I hope you can come. So check it out when you can. Have you seen the latest on Greenland? Donald Trump is completely serious on Greenland. Like totally dead serious. In the old days, back in 2016, he used to talk about it when he was in office and he kind of joked about it, and Denmark was not too happy. And so he kind of played it off as not so serious. Well, this is the second time, right? Like he's been to this, he's seen this movie before. He's serious, like really, really, really serious. I want to show you what he was saying there at the White House today, all as J.D. Vance and his wife Usha went and toured Greenland.
We need Greenland, very importantly, for international security. We have to have Greenland. It's not a question of, do you think we can do without it? We can't. If you look at Greenland right now, if you look at the waterways, you have Chinese and Russian ships all over the place. And we're not going to be able to do that. We're not relying on Denmark or anybody else to take care of that situation.
No, we're going to do it ourselves. Like, why do you want to be relying on Denmark? I don't think Denmark likes us very much. I know they don't like me. I said something that they took out of context once, and they went crazy. Like literally, like I was the lead on their nightly news. I'm like, gosh, guys, like have a sense of humor, for goodness sakes. Me in Denmark. But anyway, now it's gonna be Trump in Denmark or JD in Denmark. I think they've gone after him too. They got quite a little attack dog. You know, you don't mess with the Danes, the Great Danes. They're like those big dogs, right? Quite vicious when they want to be. Here's JD.
There's a lot of criticism from Denmark, a lot of attacks at the Trump administration, at the president, at me, at others in our administration for saying the obvious, which is that Denmark hasn't done a good job at keeping Greenland safe. And you know, one of the things I heard was, well, what about the many Danes who lost their lives in the war on terror fighting alongside the United States? Well, look, we obviously honor the sacrifice of our Danish friends in the war on terror 20 years ago, just as, for example, the French honor the sacrifice of Americans in Normandy 80 years ago. But recognizing that there are important security partnerships in the past does not mean that we can't have disagreements with allies in the present about how to preserve our shared security for the future. And that's what this is about. There is no amount of bullying, no amount of obfuscating, no amount of confusing the issue. Our message to Denmark is very simple. You have not done a good job by the people of Greenland. You have underinvested in the people of Greenland, and you have underinvested in the security architecture of this incredible, beautiful landmass filled with incredible people. That has to change. And because it hasn't changed, this is why President Trump's policy in Greenland is what it is. It's consistent with the first Trump administration, where you saw significant investments in Arctic security, and it will continue over the next 4 years under President Trump's leadership.
So, yeah, he's serious. I'm telling you, like he's always wanted this, and I get it because it's actually vital from a security standpoint. And he's making the point that it's vital for world security. Well, you don't have to hear it from me. You can actually hear it from Putin. This is kind of funny. I don't speak Russian. I speak a lot of languages, but no Russian, so I'll have to translate this for you. Here he is at a summit today saying, yeah, President Trump's pretty serious about Greenland.
Достаточно сказать, все об этом хорошо знают, о планах Соединенных Штатов Америки по присоединению Гренландии. Но вы знаете, это только на первый взгляд может кого-то удивить. И глубоко ошибочно полагать, что это какие-то экстравагантные разговоры новой американской администрации. Ничего подобного. На самом деле...
Because Donald Trump does want Greenland. Yeah. I want to go to a guest on Fox News just a short time ago that was talking actually, again, about the importance strategically of Greenland. Like, this place does matter, guys. It matters.
Thank you, Rich. To break down the vice president's Greenland trip, let's bring in co-host of the Big Money Show on Fox Business, Brian Brenberg. Great to have you, Brian. So, you know, a lot of people sort of speculated that when Trump first floated this, that this was just kind of him stirring the pot. But you really do get sort of the impression that it might be more than that.
Well, he's very serious about it. I mean, America's been in some ways serious about it for a long time. Harry Truman back in 1951 said we've got to have a presence in Greenland. That's why we have a presence in Greenland right now, thanks to World War II. But there's so many economic and strategic military reasons to be there. We've talked about many of them. Economically, I mean, the Northwest route that you have, the Arctic route, has increased shipping volume by 700% over the last 10 years. So there's a lot more stuff going through there. You've got a huge military strategic significance. I mean, China 10 years ago said, we want to be a polar power. Okay, Russia already is a polar power. 50% of the shoreline is Russian shoreline. These guys are investing in icebreakers. I mean, they're not waiting back. They're not talking about Greenland, but they are talking about that part of the world where everybody is very close. And so, you know, what does it mean in terms of our involvement with Greenland? I don't know what that partnership's going to look like. But if you're not talking about Greenland right now in this globe, economically and militarily, strategically, you are missing almost everything. It is the spot that has to be determined from a geopolitical basis.
Yeah, and it really is.
He's not wrong. Okay, so Greenland matters because, again, from a shipping standpoint, you got China, you got Russia. Like, you want to have, you don't want that all shut down, right? Imagine if we can't get things through there. So that's the thinking behind it. And he feels like ultimately this will be protecting the world. So when you look at what went on in the market today and you see this giant sell-off, part of it, you know, may be people saying, oh my gosh, like, I don't want us to be doing this in Greenland. I'm just going to say something like, let's be realists. Let's be adults. People are freaking out about, okay, he's going to tariff European cars that are coming in. Shouldn't we want American cars to have a more competitive advantage? I mean, look, I'm all for free markets, right? And everybody should produce the best car they possibly can. But look what it's done to American jobs. I've said over and over again, the problem that we have is that none of these administrations have been looking out for the US of A. They've been looking out for corporations who are so happy, right, to outsource everything. They can outsource it cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And by the way, we get a, excuse my French, crappier and crappier product as a result. But what if you actually make it here? And then you employ people here. And you have that industry here. Industry, which is actually kind of important from a national security standpoint, not to mention an economic standpoint. So I think what he's doing actually makes a whole lot of sense. You want to tell me it's fair that we send something overseas, they charge a tariff on our goods, they send something here and we don't? Like, that's not very fair. That's just a giveaway to them. No, it's not fair. And so it needs to change. And hey, you know what would be great? If nobody charged any tariffs, and then you'd really have something fair. Anyway, I'm a big believer in the economic policy of this administration. I'm excited for what they're doing. I just look at our portfolios. They're at 76 Research. I'm proud of them. Look at that success. 5 to 10 stocks in each one of them. You can learn more at 76portfolios.com. We got resilience. We got inflation protection. We got an income builder because hopefully you're going to retire one day, right? So go check that out, you guys. There's a lot lot of reasons to be investing in the market right now. If you're not ready to put your money to work in stocks, go to 76research.com and just sign up with code word dollar for my investment newsletter there. We actually just put out a piece, Rob and I, today, given the market sell-off. I actually bought. I went, when the market goes down, I'm like, what are people thinking? Like, really? You want to bet against this team? You want to bet against America? Oh, I get it. There's a lot of people that want to do that, including a whole lot of Hollywood actors that are not only betting against America, they're leaving America entirely. You had Rosie O'Donnell departing. She says she's so happy over there in Ireland. Well, she'll be happy until McGregor gets a seat, right? The fighter who's running for president, and he has a whole platform to make Ireland great again. I don't know. She's going to have to go country shopping. Well, Ellen DeGeneres has just fully, as of today, divested all of her property in the US of A. Yeah, she moved to the UK, to the English countryside, you see, with her dear wife, Portia de Rossi. And they moved about 4 months ago, but now they've finally managed to sell all of their property, and they had a lot of it. Yeah, and it was because of Trump. She said she just can't live here with Donald Trump as president. So I think we say good riddance, who cares? She had a lot of property, though. One of her properties there, let me see if I can show you a picture of it. This thing was $96 million out in California, her Montecito home. So she sold this puppy and again moved to the English countryside where apparently she has an $18 million farmhouse, but she's preserving some capital there because, hey, 96 down to 18, I guess she's thinking strategically. Maybe she has to think strategically. There's a lot of people who actually think there's one person who knows exactly why she left, and it has nothing to do with Donald Trump. That might be Kash Patel over at the FBI. Because you see, we haven't heard much about this guy lately, now have we? Sean Combs, P. Diddy, whatever you want to call him. Ellen DeGeneres was one of the people that used to go to those parties. And so this has come out in the media. Daily Mail did a story on this. He apparently used to have her there at these wild parties, these crazy parties, where allegedly there were tapes of everything that was going on. And somehow the feds busted in on him and got all the tapes, and now he's in jail, and we haven't heard a whole lot. But I think we might. I really do. And I wonder if that's why she was trying to divest herself of all things U.S. Hey, maybe she can flee to some crazy country, really crazy country, not just the U.K., which, sometimes seems a little bit crazy itself. But remember this tweet. I've showed you this before. Happy birthday, P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, Sean Combs, or as I call him, Cuddle McSnugglestuff. You don't need to know why. I think I kind of know why. I don't want to think about it, though. Here's a bunch of Australian commentators coming to the same conclusion that I'm coming to. Listen.
They're losing their minds.
She sounded so sincere, didn't she?
Very sincere.
Virtually choke on her words. But the best one for me is Ellen DeGeneres, who is, by the way, a very nasty person. I've had dealings with her in Australia.
Bit of
could I tell you some stories about that cow? But anyway, good riddance to her. But she was quite friendly with that P. Diddy bloke, wasn't she?
Well, this is why I say release the Diddy files.
Yeah.
Release the Diddy files. Come on, Donald Trump. We want to know whose name.
So maybe she's hightailing out of there before all that is thrown at her as well. But what a bunch of hypocrites. I wonder if
I'm just dying laughing because you hear me. I started to laugh. And then because I'm stuck with the remnants of this cold, I started to cough. Anyway, I'm dying laughing, especially because the way the woman delivers it. She's like, oh, that cow. She's not a very nice lady. Well, she's out of here. Okay, she's out of here. And I think Rosie O'Donnell, fine. You want to go back to the homeland, Ireland. I get it. I love the homeland too. I'm going there this August. Ireland is a wonderful place, a great country. But why is DeGeneres going to the UK? Why is she fleeing the US? Oh, yeah, she told us. It's because she doesn't like Donald Trump, except that there may be a whole lot more going on. Again, going back to what maybe Kash Patel is the only one that really knows this right now. I think the FBI and the DOJ are going to have to do some more. I mean, we got Epstein, we got Diddy, we got to figure out what went on with the Russia hoax. I hope Pam has a big staff. That's all I can say. I hope she has a really big staff. And I hope, by clearing out all of these people that shouldn't be there, and there's a lot of them, I'm hoping that they can get talented people in there that can really take some of this stuff on. I have a source there at DOJ who tells me that's exactly what they're doing, and you're going to see a whole lot more, because I do worry that this administration is still vulnerable to things like what we saw with Signal, right? So they're on Signal, and I guarantee you that was a hack. I guarantee, because how else does Jeffrey Goldberg, of all people from the Atlantic, be the one that they put on there? I mean, come on. Right? Mike Waltz, he's saying, oh, my responsibility. But let's just be clear, guys. That doesn't even make any sense. I don't believe it's a staffer either. I know so many of you are like, oh, look at the staffer. No, that's too obvious. It's too easy. Somebody got into his phone contacts. You have these phones, right? And you can get into the contacts rather easily, I'm sure, because, our NSA, they're not a bunch of dummies over there. And then they'll say, oh, well, it's their fault for using Signal. Signal that was actually put on their computers and in their phones, and they were told by Biden's CIA it was all go, use that all day long.
Miss Marr, I want to start with you, just generally.
Oopsie daisy. That was actually testimony from Ms. Marr, who is the head of NPR and is also, coincidentally, the head of the board at Signal. That's kind of interesting, right? 6 degrees of separation again? Oh, you really want to talk 6 degrees of separation? Guess who's the judge in the case that was brought against the administration for those Signal texts? One Judge Boasberg. Judge Boasberg, who was the judge who wanted to stop the flight going on the deportation to El Salvador. Judge Boasberg, whose daughter works for an organization funded by USAID, one of these NGOs that tries to help, from a legal standpoint, the MS-13 gang members. Judge Boasberg, who was the one that let Kevin Kleinsmith, the FBI attorney, who decided he would just forge some documents so he could get that FISA warrant through, so he could spy on Carter Page. He's the one who let him go with just community service time instead of prison. And then Judge Boasberg, who actually was the one who said, no, we're not going to allow Hillary Clinton's 15,000 emails to come out right during an election cycle. We will wait till after the election back in 2016. You see, this is adding up in a very, very strange way. And then you fold in Ms. Catherine Marr, who's the head of NPR, who apparently can't remember what day it is. Yeah, Catherine Marr. She's the board member there, head of the board, actually, at none other than Signal. So it's feeling a little bit incestuous in more ways than one, don't you think? As we say, the 6 degrees of separation. Catherine Marr, who, as I said earlier, may be part of the deep state, right? The deep state, given her affiliation with, formerly Wikipedia. The guy who started that, by the way, Larry Sanger, is that his name? He's like, I can't believe this. I think the CIA totally took it over. Wikipedia has been a mess, right? Ever since she came in. And then she's affiliated with all these NGOs that have affiliations with the CIA. And then somehow she's on the Signal board and she's running NPR, which we're going to talk about again on Monday, because they're getting a whole lot of taxpayer dollars that they shouldn't be getting. And the FCC needs to blow all of this wide open. And you know what? I think they will. I have faith here. I mean, it's a lot of work they got in front of them. And I'm excited to see what comes next. I remind you guys, please make sure you subscribe. It's so good to see so many people on a Friday night, right? Like, what's Trish doing here on a Friday night? I had a bunch of stuff with the kids earlier today, so I was a little behind in my schedule, but I never miss a show if I can help it, because it's too important. This is an incredibly unique time in history, and I want to be here for every moment of it with you. I see so many team members. We got the Trish Regan team. I'm thinking about coming on over the weekend. I'll just pop up. You good with that, right? The team members, we haven't done that in a while, and I'd like to just have a live conversation with you guys. So look forward to that, and we'll talk some more over the weekend for the team members, and I'll be back live on Monday. You know what else I want to ask you guys to do me a favor on? I just found this out. It's like super important, apparently, that you subscribe to my audio podcast, that you subscribe to it. As Dan Bongino once said, like, they don't even have to listen. They just have to subscribe. Apparently, it really helps the algorithm. So if you get a chance, go over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify Podcasts and subscribe to the Trish Regan Show, the audio version. It would mean a lot. I thank you for being here. Have a wonderful weekend. We got more content coming your way. Team members, I'll see you over the weekend, and we'll all talk again and reconvene on Monday.